you focus so much on building an empire that you neglect so many other things. And entrepreneurs spend their health chasing money, and then they spend their money chasing their health. They say that the national divorce rate is above 50%. Well, what do you think the divorce rate is among entrepreneurs? And I had that talk with my wife because, we were living paycheck to paycheck, At that point, my wife was, she had a full-time job. I had a full-time job. Grandma used to watch my 11-year-old, And I said, hey, babe, this isn't what I want this isn't what I dreamed of when I came over to the United States of America. So everybody thinks it comes down to a specific vehicle in business, right? Real estate, how am I going to make my money? How am I going to reach success, right? What's the vehicle I'm going to take to get there? Man, I think that's secondary to the person that you are.
Welcome to the show, Carlos.
Thank you, brother. Glad we're making this happen.
Me too.
It's beautiful, by the way. The whole entire setup you have going on here, the Everbowl headquarters, right? The people, great situation to be in, man. Happy for you.
Well, thank you. And I would be lying if I said you weren't part of the inspiration for it all, because when we met, I think it was 4 years ago on stage.
2019.
Yeah, at Ken's event in Arizona. Is that where we met?
Was it? No, I don't know. It might have been Thrive.
Was it? I think we met at Ken's first. Maybe we met at Thrive first. Okay. I don't remember, but it was one of those two events.
We've run into each other everywhere.
Yes, we speak on similar stages,
Yes,
and I got to hear you speak. And I loved the message you brought, because your upbringing and your beginning point to where you are today is something that everybody needs to listen to. Because so often when I'm talking to people who say, hey, can I pick your brain? Or I talk to them and they reach out to me and they want help or advice, they're giving me a laundry list of all these issues in front of them. Like, oh, I'm from a poor family in a poor neighborhood. I don't have access to relationships. How can I? Mm-hmm. And you had all those same challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you tell that story on stage, if you haven't heard Carlos speak, obviously you're going to get some tidbits today, but make sure you go to the next event that you see him on, because it's life-changing. It's moving. And so I'm so excited to have you here all the way from Arizona coming in to visit.
Yes, sir.
I think we saw each other last at Limitless, and we made sure to make this happen. So thank you.
You were on my priority list, bro. Since we've met from the first time, man, I just always had a connection with you. It might be the humility. I feel like I recognize a good soul. I recognize a beautiful human being inside out, I had to develop that skill set growing up the way that I grew up, having, I would say, situational awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having to put boundaries, to protect myself from, people and circumstances, et cetera. And, from the first time I met you, man, I was just like, man, I like this guy, and that's why this was on my priority list. This was on my priority list, bro. And I'm so happy with everything that you're doing and everything that you're going to do. In my opinion, you're still just getting started. We're young entrepreneurs, believe it or not. So I'm happy to be here, brother, and I'm happy to not only share my story but provide value to anybody that's out there listening, and to really try to push them to be the best version of themselves, because that's what it ultimately comes down to. Everybody thinks it comes down to a specific vehicle in business, right? Real estate, how am I going to make my money? How am I going to reach success, right? What's the vehicle I'm going to take to get there? Man, I think that's secondary to the person that you are,
Well, I think
that's my message.
Well, thank you. And I agree with you, that innate person. And I think what's unique about you, and it's not totally unique, but it's what makes you such an incredible human, is all the success you have hasn't changed the person.
For sure. Actually, thank you, brother. I actually feel that I've worked on myself over the last 4 years, really hard to become a better person, because now it's not just me, right? And then, think about it, right? I had my first daughter, then I had my second daughter. It's like, it's not just me, now my daughters look at me and they want to model after me, right? And then you start to grow as a human being, and your business starts to grow. You know, as you start to grow, your businesses start to grow because your businesses are just an extension and a reflection of who you are. Same thing with your family dynamic, right? With what you have going on at home. But also once people see that, right, and they start to see this aura or just the beautiful flow that you have going on in life, they're like, hey, you know, do you want to come speak on stage? And then one thing turned into another, right? And then I start speaking on stages, and now people are, you know, depending on me to be who I am. Think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're depending on me to really, you know, really show up and be who I say I am. And then you're like, okay, well, now it's a lot bigger than me. You know, it started with maybe just me. It's a lot bigger than me. Now people are depending on me to continue to improve myself and grow, right? So that I can continue to deliver that information and that message as one of God's vessels. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that's what it comes down to, man.
Well, before we get into the real estate, because obviously you built your career in real estate.
Yep.
When we met, we actually had a conversation about your health.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And you had hired someone to specifically help you with your meals and your macros because you had dealt with something.
For sure.
And I don't know how much we can talk about, or if you're comfortable.
All of it. I'm brother. I'm naked to the world, you know, and I feel like that's what makes my life so enjoyable, because I don't have any skeletons in the closet. I don't try. I just, you know, the best. I know there's an old cliche saying out there, a meme that says, you know, hey, be yourself. Everybody else is taken, right?
Right.
And I feel like when you finally reach that point, right, when you finally consciously understand what that means, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to be myself, but I'm going to really try to be the best version of myself, right? I feel like there's a freedom, you know, a liberation that comes with that, you know. So I'm open to everything and anything, right? Back to the health situation, you know, man, unfortunately, brother, it's like the typical entrepreneur story, right? You focus so much on building an empire that you neglect so many other things. And I believe that one of the number one things that people neglect unconsciously, right? It's not something that they're even aware that they're doing, is their health. And that's what began to happen to me. You know, I got up to 280 pounds. I started using food, I would say almost as a escape mechanism, you know. Oh, I'm stressed out. Oh, this makes me feel good for now, right? So that started to happen, and eventually everything started malfunctioning. You know, my whole body started to misfire. You're talking, you know, diabetes, you know, I don't know, 7.9, 8.1. What is that called when they go back? The
blood glucose.
I think it's called that one. What is it called?
Insulin?
No, A1C.
Oh yeah.
So your A1C,
your hemoglobin A1C.
They track back 3 months worth of your sugar levels, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and they're like, dude, you're a diabetic. I was like, what? Right? And diabetes is a plague in my family. You know, families have like cancer, heart issues. Diabetes is what kills everybody in my family.
And it's one of the 4 horsemen of death.
Really?
As Dr. Peter Attia has kind of broken down. It's cancer, neurological degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. It's cardiovascular. It's diabetes. Those are the 4 main categories of slow killers in America and the world. But those 4 will kill you.
Well, I'll tell you this, you know, my grandfather on my mother's side, you know, died from diabetes. My mother is a diabetic. My father was a diabetic, you know, he passed. And my grandmother, who is the mother of my father, died from a stroke due to diabetes. So again, it's a plague, right? And then not only does my mom have diabetes, but all her brothers and sisters have diabetes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that began to happen, you know, I would say not too long ago, right? And then eventually, you know, first it was okay, you're diabetic. You got to do something, okay? Then it was like, hey man, your blood pressure is through the roof, you know? And then, hey, you got a fatty liver, right? And then it was like, hey man, we have to take your gallbladder out. It's not doing what it needs to do, right? And then I went and got what's called, I believe it's called an endoscopy, where they put a camera down your throat and they check out all your digestive, you know, organs and all that. And they're like, hey man, you know, we got to take your gallbladder out. You know, here's the surgeon's information, right? Get it done within 2 weeks, right? It's not doing anything. It's done, right? It's dead. And then I go, okay. And then something, man, I feel like God just spoke to me, and he was like, we can do this. We can reverse everything you have going on naturally, right? And I told the doc, right? I said, hey doc, respectfully, I said, can you give me 30 days to try to improve my situation? And he goes, you know what? He goes, I've heard that thousands of times, but Americans just never change their diet. They can't control what goes, in their mouth. And most of us, a lot of people can't control what comes out of their mouth either, right? So he goes, but you know what? Keep the card. That's the surgeon's card. And I'll follow up with you in 30 days, right? And I went full like gung-ho, right? I hired Gary Brecka. Yep. You've heard of Gary, right?
Yep. No, Gary.
I did all kinds of works with him. I went to the Porsche Design Tower when he was over there in Miami, and we got to work. We got working on different things, right? I don't know if I can even disclose some of the stuff that we got to work on, right? Hormone stuff, right? Exosomes and stuff like that. We got to work on some of that stuff. I hired a full-time nutritionist, right? And he really helped me out, man. I'm talking about this dude was delivering, my lunch, my shakes, my snacks, everything, right? And then I hired a personal trainer,
Yep.
And I just went hard, man. And next thing you know, all of my physical challenges just went away. I still have my gallbladder, so,
Which is important.
Yeah, I still have my I have no pain, and even though I would say I'm about 10 pounds over where my standard is, right? I'm about 10 pounds over where my standard is. I'm still in a much better situation because right now, you know what? I'm about to put my foot on the gas again, but I will say this, this entire year, I've been on cruise control, right? I still work out 4 to 5 times a week. I still cold plunge 4 to 5 times a week. I still do a lot of that stuff, but I know where my standard is. I know what I did back then that I'm not doing now, right? I don't even have a personal trainer right now, right? I don't have a full-time nutritionist right now. You know what I mean? So I'm about to go ahead and make that, turn that switch on again.
Which is important because I talk a lot about the definition of success because I think it's formulaic. I think if you want to be successful, you can absolutely be successful. You just got to figure out the formula and implement it.
Yep.
I don't care what your background is and what skills you have. But success is, a lot of people think success just means money. And it doesn't.
Yep.
Nobody wants to be a very unhealthy billionaire that's going to die from a heart attack, a stroke, obesity, cancer, diabetes, or one of these conditions.
Absolutely.
And nobody wants to be a broke fitness model that looks incredible and has great shape, but is living out of a cardboard box, right?
Yeah.
There's a totality of success. And
100%.
when you apply it to all elements of your life, it brings everything up. And it makes success easier across all facets because if you feel good, you can put more into your business.
Yeah.
If you feel good, you can put more into your family.
Yeah.
Right? If you are taking care of your health and you're so focused on it that it's an extreme, but you're not devoting time to business, then you don't have the resources to hire a personal trainer or a nutritionist.
100%.
Or go see Gary Brecka and get some work done.
100%. So it's funny because, there's an old saying that says entrepreneurs spend their health chasing money, right? And then they spend their money chasing their health, right? That's your typical entrepreneur story, man. That happens. And health is just one of the components that, we need, or areas that we neglect, right? Family, starting with our significant other, our wives, right? If you don't have a strong enough significant other that doesn't understand, you end up in a divorce. I mean, they say that the national divorce rate is above 50%, right? Between 50 and 60%. Well, what do you think the divorce rate is among entrepreneurs?
Probably higher.
I would think above 70. You know what I mean? Right? So that's a huge thing that if you neglect your significant other, the connection gets lost, man. If you don't water that grass, it stops growing, right?
And as an entrepreneur, that's the hardest area to focus on.
For sure.
Because you take for granted the fact that they're there.
Absolutely.
Where your health is in your face because you feel it, you see it, you look at it. Your money is in your face because it's your vehicle. Your business is in your face because it's yelling at you every day. And your family, as much as it's probably it is the most important, at least to me and most entrepreneurs and most individuals, it's the one we take the most granted.
Yep. I went through that but I did have the talk with my wife, and my 11-year-old here is in the studio, right? For the first 3 to 4 years of her life. I had that talk with my wife when I was transitioning over from the corporate world to building my first company, which I tried building a bunch of companies, and I tried doing a whole bunch of different things. And finally one thing hit, which was real estate, right?
Yep.
Specifically real estate wholesaling and investing, and I had that talk with my wife because, we were living paycheck to paycheck, At that point, my wife was, she had a full-time job. I had a full-time job. Grandma used to watch my 11-year-old, and I said, hey, babe, this isn't what I want this isn't what I dreamed of when I came over to the United States of America, which I want to get into that too, by the way, right? This isn't what I dreamed of. I dreamed of truly achieving the American dream. And, this is not it. Living paycheck to paycheck, scraping by, you working a full-time job, me working a full-time job, you paying half the bills, me paying half the bills, like this isn't living, man.
No, struggling.
This is tough, right? How are we ever going to create, peace and love and joy if we're constantly under stress, right? We're constantly like, hey, babe, do we got enough money to pay the insurances? Do we electricity bill? Hey, electricity bill is almost 1 month behind. Do we have enough to catch it up? We're starting to get the disconnection notice, and all that starts to happen. How can you ever really achieve, happiness?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have peace of mind, it's 2 times or 10 times harder to achieve joy and happiness. You know what I mean?
I do.
So that's the first thing. But I had that talk with my wife, and I was just like, I'm gonna do something that I should have done a long time ago. I'm gonna do what I was intended to do. When my mother brought us over to this country, right? My mother, I always say that she was the first transitional character, right? Because even though she never became a multimillionaire, right? She was the first person to say, I'm going to do something radical. I am going to do something so crazy that my own family is going to think I'm insane, right? And her being the smallest of 11, and her being a woman,
she had 10 siblings.
Yeah, and her being, they didn't have a lot of they didn't have a cable, or television back then. It was, those were big families back then, right? In the 50s, my mom was born in 1957, anyway, she told her whole family, hey, you know what, my children, they don't have any future here in Mexico. They don't have any future here in Mexico. And she left me and my brother with my father's mother. Can you watch them? They're like, yeah, well, we'll watch them, and they asked her, like, well, when do you think you're coming back? And she's like, I don't know. Think about how difficult that is, right?
I'm trying to process that as you said that. I'm like, I don't know when mom's coming home.
I don't know. I don't know when I'm coming back. I don't know, but I can promise you I am coming back. I just don't know when that is, right? But I want to loop into that, right? I just want to say this, right? There is going to come a time that you got to have that talk with your significant other and say, hey, babe, I know that I'm not going to be able to give you the time and the love that we're accustomed to having, but a sacrifice does need to be made. Right. And it could be 1 year, it could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, but we need to do this for each other and for our children. And what's beautiful, brother, is that I started digging into, building my business in 2013. And I just made a post not too long ago. I believe I retired her on September 30th of 2016.
Your wife?
Yeah.
So 3 years.
My wife, boom, 3 years and some change, retired. So the sacrifice paid off.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And then eventually, obviously, as if you build the right way, right? If you start to scale your company the right way, you eventually begin to fire yourself from all the positions that you're needed. And now you can dedicate more time and be more present with your family,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Which is what it is today for me, praise God, right?
Which is so great because your family's actually here.
They're here. And we're going to spend the next, I don't know, until Wednesday. So what's today, Friday? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The next 6 days, I showed you the house we're staying at. We're right on the beach for the next 6 days. We're going to the Oogie Boogie Halloween party on Tuesday, right? It's a very special little Halloween party that they open up the park for after 6 p.m. for specific ticket holders, right? You don't have to deal with like the madness of Disneyland. You go there when everybody's leaving and they shut it down, and now only those specific people that have tickets for that party. And it's if you have anybody out there that has kids, I strongly encourage that.
Hey, fitness fans, ready to crush your fitness goals? Make your move to EOS Fitness, where becoming a member starts at just $9.99 a month. Gyms are open 24/7 and packed with the latest gym equipment to keep your workouts fresh. What are you waiting for? Give them a call, drop by, or hit up jefffenster.com/EOS to join. EOS Fitness, better gym, better price. Now, let's get after those goals.
But yeah, praise God, man, full circle. I am the most present with my family that I've ever been, and I'm truly enjoying, being a husband. I just texted my wife the day before yesterday. I said, I'm so in love with you, right? So we were having we were going over finances with our CEO and our finance manager, right? We're going over our books, and I step out to just make a little espresso there in the kitchen area. And I just text my wife. I'm like, I'm so in love with you, right? And then by the way, I've been with her since August 19th, 2001. We were teenagers when her and I started dating, and I'm more in love with her now than I've ever been in the history of our relationship. You know what I mean? So praise God for that, bro. But just to give a 5-minute rundown of my story, because I feel like it's very important. The first time that my mother brought us over was actually not too far from here, Escondido, California.
How old were you?
Second grade. So I don't know how old you are in the second grade, right? So she brought us over. Watch this. So remember how I told you, so for kindergarten, right? Very simple. My mom left my father because he became an alcoholic, and he became a coke addict, and he got very abusive. And he began to beat on her, very often. And one situation, right, finally did it. He came home, and he was looking for someone under the bed, right? He's illusion, when you're coked out and drunk. Where is he? I know you're cheating on me. You know what I mean? And then he comes home, puts my mother and myself against the wall, and starts shooting around us, not at us, thank God, but around us. It was kind of diabolical. And then, as soon as he passed out or left, he got my brother. My mother, grabbed my brother, took us an hour and a half south where we were in Mexico to her mom's house, to his mom's house, which is my nana, my grandma, right? And then, we go there and we spend a little bit of time there, right? And that's when she has that talk with my nana. She says, hey, we're not gonna make it here. My mom, she's like, I'm making like $15, $20 a week here.
Yep.
This is not the future that I want for my sons. And that's when she says, can you help me? Can you watch them? And, they say, yeah, we'll take care of them. And that's when she said, when are you coming back? And she's like, I don't know, but I promise I'm coming back. Right. So my mom makes her way to Escondido. Right. And she starts working at some kind of plant where they take dry fruit. Actually, no, the first time she came over, she was working the fields. And that's how she actually received full amnesty, right? And then she worked her way out of that job and then started working in a plant where they put the fruits in the drum and they put them in little baggies in San Marcos, an area called, I've never been there, San Marcos, right? So now, my mom she's making enough money to come and grab us. And she comes down to Mexico and she grabs us, and we go to Tijuana, which is the border of, Cali and Mexico. And she's like, all right, kids, we're going to try to do this. And this woman is so smart, because if she would have got caught smuggling my brother and myself into this country, they would have took her paperwork away. Think about that, right? Yeah. She has a permanent residence now, and they would have took her paperwork. So what she did was she threw on a pair of socks and then she put her paperwork, and then she threw in another pair of socks. You know what I mean? She double sock with her green card in between the socks, so that if we get caught, immigration doesn't find her, and then they don't take it away from my mom. She's a whole, she's like a I don't know, a street genius or something, you know? So anyway, so the first time we come over, brother, we come through San Isidro.
Yep.
And there's a sewer canal.
That's the busiest border in.
It's very busy.
It's the busiest border in the world, or I know it's the busiest in the United States.
It's one of
I think
the top,
it's the busiest
for sure.
in the world.
Yeah. And the first time we come over, she's carrying my brother with her, with her left arm, and she's dragging me with her right arm, and we get through that sewer canal, right? Mm-hmm. And we come over to, she has a little apartment over here. I actually just looked it up. It was 1825 East Valley Parkway, Escondido, California.
Which is about
15, 20 minutes from here.
Yeah, I was going to say, right? 15 minutes, 10
yeah,
minutes from here?
They're called, I think it's called Village Parkway Apartments or something, right? So she has a little 1-bedroom there, and she brings us there, and we start going to a school called Oak Hill Elementary, the Otters, right? And I go there for the 2nd grade, and then I stay after school.
Did you speak English?
No, I didn't speak English. Bro, I'm Mexican.
Yeah, no, I was curious. At this moment, you don't speak English.
No, I don't. So, I started getting made fun of, my brother and I, and it wasn't even white people that were making fun of us. It was our own kind. It was like, they're called Chicanos, right? Not Mexican people, but Chicanos, which are kids that come from immigrant Mexican parents that were born in this country. So the kids are born in this country, right? Yeah. And they're the ones like, oh, you don't speak English, you wetback, and all this other stuff. So, I don't know how I programmed this, maybe God's grace, but in the 2nd grade, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn English. And I start staying after school to learn English. And then I start picking up English pretty well, right? And then right when I entered the 3rd grade, man, my mom, we failed financially. Like, she lost her job and we couldn't pay rent. And she's like, we got to go back. So imagine now, right? The 2 years that we waited for my mom, and those were really rough. Those were rough because I used to sleep with her picture under my pillow and just cry at nighttime. And I used to ask my nana, my grandma, hey, why did my mom leave? Why did my mom leave? And she's like, no, she didn't leave. She's coming back. But, try explaining that to a kid, like you just don't understand. You don't comprehend why she's doing what she's doing. And that's to try to create a better life for her children, right? So anyway, we have to go back. And now, man, we're on our way back. And we're in this like black Nissan Frontier with like a seats in the back. The guy that gave us a ride back to TJ, his name is Jaime. That was one of my mother's friends. And I'm just crying and I'm just bawling back there, man. 3rd grader, just bawling because I already understand at this point. I'm like, dude, we were without our mother for 2 years and we failed, right? And it was just devastating for us. So we're on our way back, and my mom literally just peeks over the, she peeks over the seat, and she grabs my hand. She says, hey, son, says, don't worry, we're gonna come back. I promise. I gave you my word. We're gonna come back. She goes, I have some friends in Phoenix, and they say that it's much more affordable over there. So we're gonna make it work down in Mexico for about a year or two, and we're gonna go to Phoenix. And sure thing, bro. We went down to Mexico, and now I know just enough English to start bagging groceries, right? She starts cleaning hotel rooms in a resort called San Carlos Bay, right? This is in Guaymas area. And then I'm bagging groceries in a retail market called La Ley, L-E-Y, right? So her and I, in the 3rd grade, we're taking the same bus. I'm taking the bus, we're hopping on the same bus, the little, Mexican public bus, right? And sure thing, we're going, and I get off first 20 minutes ahead of her. I get off. I got my little apron. I don't know if I've ever showed you my identification as a voluntary grocery bagger, right? So anyway, I got my little apron and my little hat and my little, identification, and that's where I'm bagging groceries. And she keeps going, and she's cleaning hotel rooms, right, resort rooms, and she's making about $20 to $30 a week. And I know enough English to where this was the closest retail market to that resort area. And a lot of Americans would come to San Carlos Bay for different reasons, for deep sea fishing and, whatever, right? So anytime that Americans would come to this store, they were like they would be wowed, right? They're like, damn, this little Mexican kid speaks English and he's bagging my groceries. Like, wow, that's an anomaly. You know what I mean? So I'm bagging groceries and I'm putting the soft with the soft, bread is separately and the double bagging the milk. And then I put it all together. I put it on a little cart, take it out to their trunk, neatly put it together. And then, ask for my tip and I'm getting a quarter, I'm getting 50 cents, I'm getting $1. Brother, I'm making $10 to $12 a day.
Which
she's
for
making
your family was a ton.
She's making $20 to $30 a week. I'm making $10 to $12 a day. So we used her money to pay for the everyday living expenses, right? We were living with my grandma and grandpa. And then we used my money to save to send her to Phoenix. So we did that for a little while and we sent her on a bus to Phoenix, right? And sure thing, man, she has to start out in the field again. Mm-hmm. But now it's 120 degrees out there, man.
Yeah, Phoenix is no joke with
she's doing that whole thing. Year and a half later, she goes and grabs me, leaves my brother, goes and grabs me, pays a guy $25 in Nogales, Sonora, the border, pays a guy $25 and some, it was a referral. This guy's a human smuggler. They call him a coyote, right? Pays him $25 and she says, son, whatever this dude tells you to do it. He's going to take you to me on the other side. I'm going to meet you at McDonald's, right?
In Tucson?
No, Nogales, Arizona.
Okay.
So Nogales, Sonora, I'm there. I have no papers. I can't get in. My mom has papers. She's at McDonald's in Nogales, literally like 2 miles apart.
Yeah.
But there's a huge fence that doesn't allow me to come in, right? Well, this dude's like, all right, man, just follow me. Let's go. Duck, crawl, run. All right, jump through this hole. And sure thing, brother, just like in the movies, they got like these huge lights, just left, right. So he was timing everything. This dude was a pro, for $25, man, this dude, he held it down, man. So boom, we jumped through this little hole in Nogales. I go to McDonald's where she's at. And you can only imagine, bro, I'm my mom and we hop in a van, a shuttle, and we make our way up to Phoenix. And then she started my paperwork process in 1997. And then I got my work permit eventually a few years down the line. Then I got my resident card, my green card a few years down the line. And then 5 years after I got my resident card, I became a citizen, which was 2012, man. I became a citizen of the United States of America.
Congratulations.
So that was, and then 2013 is when I started to try to, do some business, you know what I mean? So that's the story, brother.
And it's incredible because so many times on that journey, as I'm listening to it, I'm sitting here hearing but watching in my head this movie.
Yeah.
So many opportunities.
It's still a movie in my mind.
For your mother to give up on that.
Yeah.
To realize that, this American dream, this American goal, it's outside of reach for us.
Yeah.
Go back to Mexico and just trudge through it.
Yeah.
And knowing how you kind of developed your real estate story, because the bandit signs
from the trenches,
it instilled in you this work ethic, this understanding that it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's not a clear path. There will be setbacks, but the result is going to happen. I don't know when. I don't know when. And this is the key with success. No one can tell you when. When you try to put a win on things, that's when you get discouraged. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we don't know when is, but it's going to happen.
People quit too soon.
All the time.
People quit too soon. That's the only reason why, we are part of the 1%, because 99% of people, they never have the courage to overcome the fears that are happening in their own mind, right? Oh man, what if I, and you got all these like these limitations, right? These personal beliefs, right? That are limitations that they acquired along the way, right? Because nobody's born scared.
Right.
Nobody's born, think about it. When we were children, they would ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? Right. And without a doubt, without a second thought, I want to be an astronaut.
Yep.
I want to be a president, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor, right? Boom, 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 right? But then we begin to grow, and we begin to catch certain fears from other people, whether it's our mother or our father or, our uncle or aunts or, family or teachers or coaches. Now we begin to just pack all these fears down, you know what I mean? Down our throats. And then eventually you don't even know what you want to do or be with your life because you're just afraid of everything.
Well, you think about it, like just talked about this on a podcast that I was a guest on the other day. We teach kids to not talk to strangers. We teach kids to settle. We teach kids to be, like you're saying, be scared, instead of realizing that to make friends and to build your relationship capital. Yeah, you know what? We should be teaching kids not to not talk to strangers. We should be saying don't talk to adult strangers.
Yeah.
Because if you take a little kid and you put them in a playground and they've yet to been brainwashed, they make friends with every kid, regardless of race, color, whatever.
For sure.
They have imagination. They find something fun to do. They're never bored.
So beautiful.
They figure it out. You put them on a bicycle or you tell them to learn how to walk. They don't get discouraged that it might take them 3 months to walk. They just keep trying. They fall, they get up, they fall, they get up. Somehow adults, 1 try, we fail, we're done. 2 tries, we fail, we're done. And I'm not able to do it. It shouldn't be easy.
Well, and think about it, right, brother? Like, I would say most people never even get started, right? Because of that belief system, you know, those limited beliefs that you know, we acquire along the way. Example, right? Oh man, we start to think like one of my biggest fears was fear of failure. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, dude, I come from nothing. Like, where did I pick that up?
Right.
Right.
Like, how did you get that?
Exactly. I never feared failure. I mean, God, I crossed the border illegally twice.
Right.
You know, I should have feared getting caught or getting thrown in jail or whatever. You know, fear of failure. That was my biggest.
You also worked a job in 3rd grade.
Exactly.
I was playing Foursquare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Handball.
For sure.
That was my day. Not bagging groceries, hoping to making money.
Exactly. So where did I pick up fear of failure? That was my biggest one, right? So for a lot of people, it's like fear of failure. Man, what if I try and then I fail, right? And it's like, another one is, you know, fear of criticism. Like, what are people going to say? You know, what are people going to say? Oh, look at that dude, you know, look at him, he tried and he failed. Oh, he thought he was better than us and look at where he is now, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, we make up these things, right? And some people, it's like fear of success.
Yep.
Some people fear success. They're like, man, what if I become successful and then I lose it all, right? So there's so many fears out there that actually prevent us from even taking that first step, right? Yep. And then once you build up the courage to take that first step, right, which I did, which you did plenty of times, you know, we take that first step, we're like, okay, and we got the butterfly in our stomach, we got the fear and we got the thoughts in our minds, just like every other person. We just choose to keep moving forward, and we choose to like overcome those emotions and those thoughts by, you know, countering them. You know what I mean? Right?
Yep.
Right? A bad thought comes in and we're like, no, we're going to get it done. You know what I mean?
Well, it's that cliche, fear can be face everything and run, or fear can stand for face everything and roar. Either way, fear is coming. That.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. For sure. We're all human.
Absolutely.
We all, you know, think the same and feel the same. So now we develop this courage and we're like, no, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. Right. And most of the time, for me specifically, this is the way it happened. And I don't know if it happened for you, but a lot of entrepreneurs, this is the way it happens. Right. We're forced, like, we have a little bit of courage, but something happens in our lives that's so painful, right? That we finally decide to just push through, right? And there's an old saying, people don't change until the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of having to change, right? That's what happened with me, right? That's what happened with me. I was like, I can't live like this anymore. It's too painful. I'd rather die. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, right? So then I overcome that. And then I get out there. And I start putting out the bandit signs because I read this $10 book that says you can become a real estate multimillionaire investor without credit, you know, without a license and without money, right? It's like, hey, it's just going to take a lot of hustle, you know, and I believe it. I believe, thank God, right? Like, I was so, like, ignorance is bliss in this case, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay, so this is telling me to put out 100 bandit signs that says, I'll buy your house cash, you know, 100 every single Friday. Okay.
And for the audience, a bandit sign.
A bandit sign is those signs that you see out on the street in the corners that say we buy houses cash and have a phone number. They call them bandit signs because they're not technically legal, but they're not illegal. Right. So it's a weird thing, right? The city sometimes just like, oh, look, a bandit sign, they trash them. So anyway, and you see the whole, like, whenever there's a political run, they're out there, you know, there's political bandit signs and stuff.
As an entrepreneur, I know how meaningful it is to invest in the people and causes that are close to me. And on GoFundMe, it's easy, safe, and powerful to do just that. whether you're supporting a family member, friend, local business, or charity. And whenever you make a donation, you're protected by the GoFundMe Giving Guarantee. Visit GoFundMe.com today to help make a positive difference in your community.
So anyway, this book is telling me to put out 100 every single Friday, and I'm putting out 120 to 150. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, right? And I couldn't even pay friends to drive me around. Hey, bro, if I give you $50, can you drive? That way I can jump out the passenger side and then go corner to corner to corner to corner on the intersection. Nah, man, I'm going to the bar. Nah, man, I'm hanging out with my family. Nah, man, I'm hanging out with my girlfriend. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted to do it. So for 6 months, 2,400 Bandit signs later, I get my first deal, and that deal changed my life forever, right? You know what I mean? I get my first deal, changed my life forever, and then now—
So 5.5 months, zero.
Nothing, zero.
But every Friday.
Every Friday like clockwork. And everybody, like, oh, there goes, that dude's crazy. Think about it, right? My family thought I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy. My friends thought I was crazy. The job I was working at thought I was crazy. By the way, nobody believed me. The only person that believed, actually, the only two people that believed in me were one, me, right? And then my wife. My wife would actually write them out for me. Every Wednesday, hey, babe, I'm tired. How many do you need today? Baby, can you do 120? Okay, give me the marker, right? Bro, she believed in me. Yeah. That's why she was the first person that I retired. You know, she believed in me. She's writing out these signs for me because I couldn't even afford the pre-printed signs. The pre-printed signs were like $1.50. I can buy these blank signs for 30 cents and have her write them out. Now I can afford that, you know?
Yeah.
So I do my first deal, brother, and
do you remember how much you made?
$5,000 my first deal. And it's funny because one of my biggest deals that I did was in Berkeley, California. I remember it was December of 2021, and I netted over $730,000 on one house that I actually flipped. Like I physically rehabbed the house in Berkeley from Arizona, by the way. I never even saw the house. I'll show you the check, right? Gross was like 780 something. There was some fees and miscellaneous that we had to pay. 730 was like the net. So it's beautiful how like things can just go full circle. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I start wholesaling in my own backyard, real estate wholesaling, and I just start to crush it. I start to make a lot of money. By July of 2016, we were making millions of dollars in real estate wholesaling and flipping, right? And then we start to make all this money, and then we're like, okay, we're making all this money, and the business is growing the way it's supposed to, right? But my business partner and now I have a business partner, Sal. We're entrepreneurs. We you know, real estate happened to be the first vehicle that was massively successful. But now we start to take all this money and we're like, oh, let's buy this medical company for $315,000 in cash. Boom, medical company. Now we have a medical company, right? Let's grow this software company, right? We have 3 software companies: Investor Automation, ProspectX.com, NeedToSkip.com. Now we start investing money into these software companies, right? Hey, let's start this BPO company, which means business processing outsourcing. A lot of people know it as the virtual assistant, right? We start that in Mexico, and then it expands into Egypt, right? Where it's the virtual assistants, they do lead generation, they do appointment setting, they do customer service, customer support, right? At the peak of that company, we had over 800 agents working for us between Mexico and Egypt. So that was cool, right? And it's still going. It's still doing pretty good, thank God. And then, like I said, man, now, we just acquired and merged a solar company called Zealous Energy a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. Now we're playing that whole game, now we're in the private equity game.
Yep.
So real estate was the financial key for us to start expanding into other verticals. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And I think there's a clear and key distinction you're making here about entrepreneurship, because there's multiple kinds of entrepreneurs, but a lot of times people think you have to be an expert at one craft. Like, I'm a great dentist, so I start my own dental practice. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're more of a business owner than entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean you're not an entrepreneur, and I'm not suggesting you aren't. You're just a different kind of entrepreneur. You take entrepreneurship as the vehicle doesn't matter. Mm-mm. The process, the system, the
formula.
The formula.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yep.
That's where I was
Same
going with it.
blueprint.
Same blueprint. And I do
right?
the same thing. Like I jump industry to industry every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. You've done great.
Well, it's just I enjoy. What I have found is when I was young, I was always told by my parents.
You're a creative. You're a creative.
In a weird way.
And you're just a creative playing in the business world.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And as a kid, it was always like, Jeff, you've got to figure out what you're going to do the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I grew up with parents that the word entrepreneur, I didn't even know what that word meant. You know, like I never thought of entrepreneurship, but it was always be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a teacher, be an electrician, but you're going to be an electrician.
Something safe.
Figure something out that you can do for the next 40, 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was prison in my head. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'll go crazy.
Doing the same thing.
And so everyone's like, you must have like ADHD or something, you know, like why can't you stay focused and do something forever? Like, why are you always jumping around? And luckily entrepreneurship gave me a vehicle to 100%. Turn what was viewed as a weakness and turn it into a financial strength and turn that into the vehicle, which is I can do whatever I want if I can figure out how to scale, grow, and develop a business or acquire, merge.
Yep.
And so I love that about your story that most real estate titans,
they stay there.
They stay there, which is great. Listen, if you can, and there's nothing.
They do well. Yeah, they do well. They do well.
If I could do that, if I could do one thing forever, I would do it.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't
I know
either.
you can't either.
I can't.
Yeah.
But what I love about your story is you made millions of dollars. And this is where a lot of people would regain those same fears.
Yep.
They get complacent. Like, oh, I can't rock this boat. Like, look how much money we're making in real estate.
Well, think of my tolerance for risk, right? I think that's a big component for me, right? Think of if you put people, right, if you just measure people's tolerance for risk, and you compare my tolerance for risk versus your average business owner or your average real estate investor guy, right? My tolerance for risk is extremely high. I can tolerate the hell out of some risk. Why? Look where I come from. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, look at all the risks that I had to take to even get here, right? So I'm willing to roll the dice on anything that I believe in, you know?
Yep.
And that's the way that it's worked out. Like I'm excited about the solar industry, right? The solar industry right now is where the real estate industry was back in 2013, right? We're actually developing a whole virtual model for the solar industry, right? And we're very excited about that. We're working with multiple install companies, they're called EPCs, nationally, where we're getting better red lines, which means we can actually be more competitive with our pricing. And I know I'm talking solar and stuff, but you know, I'm excited about the solar industry, right? Mm-hmm. I'm excited about, is Everbo a franchise, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm excited about
plus around the country.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm excited about this other venture that I'm doing with the guy Chris Crone up in Utah, right?
He's an investor of Everbo.
It's called Prof. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing. It's called Property, and we're kind of doing a pilot for a potential franchise, real estate franchise that the world has never seen. Right? It's right now we're working a pilot program right now, and it's going extremely well. So
that's exciting.
I'm really excited about that, man, because it takes the best of all worlds when it comes to real estate. You know, you got coaching, you got systems and processes, business in a box,
which is what franchising provides.
Exactly.
Right? For individuals who are looking to take control of their financial freedom, become an entrepreneur, but simplify a lot of the stuff.
Yep. And
learn from the dummy tax paid by others.
Blueprint.
Give them the blueprint and the formula.
Yep.
And that's why franchising is such a lucrative opportunity, and why from McDonald's, Subway.
I love. By the way, a lot of people aren't fans of franchising. Man, I love. I mean, think about some of the most successful businesses out there. They're franchises.
And think about some of the most wealthy athletes. They all transition to franchising.
Absolutely.
I mean, Drew Brees owns 150 Everbowls. Shaq owns every franchise you can think of, other than Everbowl yet. But no, but we do business with Shaq. We build his Big Chickens, and he's launched his own franchise concept. I mean, Peyton Manning, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, they're all involved in franchise.
Doesn't Rick Ross have the Wingstop?
Yeah, he's got tons of them.
These dudes are getting smart. Like, they're getting smart, man. They're doing it right. They're doing it right. So I'm excited about, obviously, all the business stuff that we have going on, right? I'm very excited. You know what I'm most excited about is I'm most excited that I'm actually now learning from I'm in a position where I'm hiring C-suites, right? And I'm learning so much from those C-suites. Mm-hmm. Think about it, right? I'm learning. Like, I hired a gentleman who was a CEO for Crown Distribution and Anheuser-Busch, right? I mean, this dude took a company from 20 mil to like 210 million over the course of like 20 years or something, right? You can only imagine like the business acumen on that dude and how much I'm learning from that dude.
That's right.
Right? I'm learning so much from this guy, right? And I'm learning so much from all the beautiful human beings that we're able to hire now, because that's the other thing. As you begin to grow and scale, you have the means to hire better people, right?
And
And I'll tell you what, brother, when I tell you that I don't care if your marketing is good and your sales is good, all that, like your systems and your processes, that the asset of any company is the people, right? The people that are there, and if they believe and the culture's there and the core values are there, you guys are aligned, right? And the vision, everybody buys into the vision. That right there alone will create an unstoppable machine, and that's what I'm excited about.
And I share that with every fiber of my being. I'm not sitting here today talking to you if I didn't have the most incredible team with me and get to learn from them, and I'm the dumbest guy on the team.
I'll be the dumbest guy on the team too.
That's the team I want to be on.
Yeah,
I want to be the weakest link.
Absolutely.
That's a good team.
That I like hiring. I always say this. I like hiring people that tell me what to do.
Yep.
Not that I have to sit there and micromanage and not let go of the vine. I like to hire people that tell me what to do. Right.
That's right. Thought leaders, disruptive thinkers, people who have an entrepreneurial mindset and want to bring it. Problem solvers.
Yeah.
Go-getters, hard workers.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh, I love it.
And it comes down to standards. Right. You and I both know that when you're growing, because I consider my company an organization, right? It's an organization. All In Strategies is an organization that has solar and real estate and software and medical. It has all these different subsidiaries, right? And, I consider it an organization, and it comes down to what standard are you going to have as a whole for that organization? If you think about Andy Frisella, right? There was a video that he posted. And by the way, I've seen it firsthand because I've been to his headquarters twice. First Form. You take a look at a multi-billion-dollar company like First Form. What is the biggest difference maker? It's the standards.
Yep.
Right? I saw a video of Andy. There was like this freezer where they have all these drinks, and some of the drinks weren't aligned. Like the label wasn't out. They didn't look perfect. He's like, are you looking at this? He's like, this is the kind of stuff that gets you fired. And he's sitting there churning them around and putting them in place the way they're supposed to. And by the way, those are the standards that that specific company has, right? And I believe that, a company, an organization like yours, an organization like mine, that's what it is. It's standards with your people, standards with your systems and your processes, standards with everything and anything that you do on a daily basis.
And what you're hitting on is so important, right? Because yes, you might say, well, is it really important that Andy's doing that? Here's the thing. When you set those standards in your organization, the people who can't live up to them,
they're not going to be there.
They're not going to be there long.
No.
They might be there for a little while until they're replaced or they don't feel right, like they feel out of place.
100%.
But what happens is that standard brings up your floor. And now you have a team of people who are focusing on the minutia, who are focusing on bringing their absolute best every single day. And business isn't as hard as we all make it. The reason it is because 8.5 out of 10 people have sub remarkable standards. They're willing to settle in all areas of their life.
Yes.
And so by just focusing on being remarkable and bringing the absolute best, you beat 8.5 out of 10.
Yep.
Now you're in the top 15%.
Yep.
And now you're competing against people who are, and okay, the cream's going to rise.
My goal, right? And there's an old saying, right? It says you don't get in life, you don't get what you want, you get your standards. If you think about it, right? Me, this little Mexican kid from Mexico that came here illegally. Well, guess what? My mother had standards, and that's why she chose to come to this country.
That's right.
Right. And then, I had standards, and that's why, I have, fought and crawled and scratched, right, my way up in the world, because I have standards. And my wife knows this, and my children know this. I have standards for everything. I have standards for my health. I have standards for my marriage. I have standards for the way that I parent my kids. I have standards for them. You know what I mean? That's it. And it's not about no one's perfect. You're never going to be perfect. But if you just have standards, across every single compartment in your life, you know what? You're gonna do well. You're gonna do well. And that's why people need to understand out there, man. standards, that should be the foundation. Obviously principles, integrity and trust, right? Yes, but standards should also be your foundation with everything you do in life.
And for those who have watched a lot of our episodes, regardless of the incredible human sitting in the seat, that right there is one of the most common denominators between them all. That no matter how successful financially, personally, emotionally, spiritually, health-wise, whatever you want to call it, we are, the desire to have high standards, the desire to keep moving, the desire to keep going is what's there. And what I love about your story, and I hope everyone watching this can really take to heart, is we all have things in the past that might create limiting beliefs, might create this, well, I don't have what that person has.
Mm-hmm.
You have a huge amount of those things.
Yeah.
More than most.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you've come across you had to come across illegally twice. You had to work in the third grade.
Yep.
You didn't have a complete nucleus family that came with you. It was your mom. You had to leave your brother.
Yep.
You had to learn English after getting made fun of
Yep.
as an older kid,
Yep.
not even as an infant.
Yep.
You then had no money and were putting out signs for 5.5 months with 0 results.
Mm-hmm.
All of these reasons are why so many people go, yeah, I didn't have this, but yet you overcame it all.
Single mom, by the way.
Single mom.
She doesn't speak English to this day. And I will, I want to let you know that, my mother is my, my role model, my Wonder Woman. And I retired her, I believe it was, it might've been March of 2017. It was in 2017. So I retired her shortly after I retired my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Mom, you're done. I actually put a story on my Instagram about it. When I had that conversation with her, I said, Mom, you're done. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to put you on my payroll for the rest of your life. So she's having her golden years. You know what I mean?
And I hope
she
everyone
deserves it.
And I hope everyone watching, when you find yourself in that victim mindset, when you start to say, I can't because, or I don't have this because I don't have that, or look where I came from. I want you to think about this episode with Carlos, because like I said to you, listening to you on stage, it impacted me because I didn't have to overcome nearly the mountain that you've overcome. And we all have those self-limiting beliefs and those mindsets.
Because I respect the hell out of you, bro.
But it's not where you came from is the point of the story, right? And the fact is, I've leaned on it. Like when I sometimes have these limiting beliefs, I'm like, if only I had, or if only I had this when I was younger. And I'm like, then I look to my friends and the people that inspire me and I go, well.
Like a Bedros
or a Carlos,
right?
And say, you know what? I mean, look what he overcame and look where he is. Like, why am I using this excuse?
Yeah.
Excuses don't pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
Excuses don't get us to where we're trying to get. Excuses are there to prevent us. They're the walls we have to climb over or get under, or the hole that we have to. And we might have to wait for the lights to move, right? Your story of crossing the border is an analogy for so many other stories, right?
Sure.
Your 5.5 months of every week putting out those bandit signs, most people quit after a month.
Absolutely.
Most people quit after 2 months.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the ability to say, I'm going to keep doing this, because I'm sure what did happen, and maybe you realized it did or you didn't, over the course of those 6 months, the verbiage might have gotten a little better. The locations might have gotten a little better, or you get lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You can go fishing every day and not catch anything, but you just need that one fish.
Or God just winks at you, right?
There you go.
Resilient, right? You have to be resilient. I think that's the word that I really truly honor. I feel like what separates successful people from the non-successful people is being resilient.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at what resilient means, it means that no matter what happens in your life, no matter what challenges are thrown your way, right? You continue to push forward and you continue to overcome, and you don't die with your trauma, and you don't die in your excuses. You just keep pushing forward. You know what I mean? That's so amazing. Resilient. That's what I want to encourage everybody out there to be resilient. Have courage, push through. There's people counting on you, that you don't even know, Praise God, brother, because of what I've been able to do with my life, I've been able to help a bunch of people make millions of dollars across the country, right? And that's how I actually even got invited to start speaking on stages, because, it was like my track record built a reputation. And then, I started to serve others, and then people were like, okay, this dude's been around long enough and he's been very consistent and he happens to be who he says he is. Let's start inviting him out to some events. And then I just started being myself, and I started serving the world. Because for me, my North Star for the rest of my life is this, right? I tell my wife this all the time. I said, hey, babe, you know what? Let me just simplify what the rest of my life looks like. I said, 1, I want to create wealth. 2, I want to create memories. And 3, I just want to serve others. That's it. Those are my big 3 or power 3, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? That's it for the rest of my life. That's my North Star,
Well, you are well on the way, man. You are doing all 3 of those things.
Thank you, brother.
I'm proud of you. Excited to continue to watch your journey. I'm excited to see what comes next because I know there's some things in the works that I'm looking forward to. And I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and your story with our audience because there's so much to unpack and learn. And thank you for coming and hanging out with me here.
Thank you, brother. God bless you. And, everybody out there that's listening, one life to live, man. Just, be the best version of yourself. There's people counting on you to succeed, and how much more time do we really have to waste? There's people that are counting on us to be able to succeed. Somebody has to do it.
Well, thank you, man.
For sure.
Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.